Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer Dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Welcome everyone. It's wonderful to feel the threads of connection across the Northern Hemisphere tonight. So here we are together. If you're here in Europe, moving into a winter's evening, you will have done many things and thought many thoughts today. I wonder how that's been for you as you remember this precious day. Perhaps you're thinking, that went well, that was lovely, that was really hard. If you're in the United States, perhaps it's lunchtime, you're feeling hungry after your morning activities and you have the afternoon in prospect. Perhaps you have an appointment to attend, perhaps a challenging one, or a particular task to do. And if you're in Hawaii, you have a whole day of moments in front of you. Perhaps you've looked at the early morning view from your window and thought, I'm not looking forward to that. That will be lovely. It will be good to get that job done. If we think about the smallest activities we have probably all done today, one of them that unites us, even if we've only just got up, is we've probably held some cutlery, a knife, a fork or a spoon. And I wonder how and in what context you've held cutlery today, where your thoughts were when you were using it, how tightly or loosely you gripped it, how you placed it on a table or lifted it up from a table. And for a moment, I would invite you to just look at the hands which have held cutlery across the Northern Hemisphere and the different expressions of the way that will be held in your own unique way. My inquiry question today is, how do we see and feel into the depths of this life, into the wonder, beauty and terror? And how do we take care of what prevents this happening? How do we take care of the whole piece? Perhaps we can feel into it in our most difficult and challenging moments, perhaps just standing in the corner of a street, or at this very moment. Is it possible in this moment to feel and see into the depths of this life? In 2018, at the last Swiss retreat, Flint reflected on this. He said, I'm thinking of a leaf. I had a strange experience yesterday on the walk in the afternoon on our own. I'd gone pretty high up the road and I stopped in the beautiful sunlight and I was just looking across the valley to the mountains, up to the glaciers, in the road between the trees. And it was very peaceful and beautiful and quiet. And from one of the trees on the other side of the road in the valley, a leaf started coming. It wasn't like in this fall when the leaves are blowing. It was only one leaf. It was coming straight at me in the sunlight, and it came and just fell to my feet. And there was something about that moment that was everything. It sounds maybe ridiculous and small, but it's beyond language. The letting go, the receiving, the fullness of everything in that one leaf, that one meeting, the entering of the universal through the particular. When I was practicing with this question this week, in preparation for the talk partly, but also it's one of the questions that I keep very close to me all the time. I found a Dharma talk from Suzuki Roshi, which he gave on the 20th of July 1969. It was the day Apollo 2 landed on the moon. He said, "Our life is limitlessly deep. Our life is limitlessly deep. When we go to the moon, I'm not sure we are following the best direction for human beings. I don't know what we are doing. Instead of seeking for some set success in the objective world, we try to experience the everyday moments of our life more deeply. Enjoy your life in each moment. Observe what you have now and truly live in your surroundings." And he'd been the previous day to an island owned by the Nature Conservancy Council. And he was so touched by his meeting there and his experience there that he compared going to the moon with actually just staying in one place, just really going deep into the life you have wherever you are. Ed Brown, who was previously the Tenzo, the head cook at Tassajara, was once reflecting on the practice of offering a small portion of the meal to the Buddha statue in the Buddha hall, which is a practice that happens from the kitchen to the Buddha hall. And he said, "I used to find that when I was cook at Tassajara, I used to find this really annoying. Like, I've got things to do, and you want me to put some food in these little doll dishes so that somebody can put it on the altar, and the Buddha isn't even going to eat it, not even going to smell it. What does the Buddha care if you've put some food there or not?" And then he said, "And you know, about 20 years later, these things take a while sometimes, but I thought, wow, what a great thing. You know, you put the food in the dishes and you take it up and you put it on the altar and then you bow. And then you turn and you walk away, and the Buddha doesn't say anything, doesn't say, 'Thank you, nice meal, love the crepes.' So what you do is you make your effort and you offer it. 'This is my offering,' and then you leave. You make your effort and you offer it. 'This is my offering,' and then you leave." David Chadwick, the biographer of Suzuki Roshi, was once asked to summarize what he had learned from him. And he said, "Well, if I have to," he said, "it's just do it. Just do it." And if we take out the "wow, what a great thing," which I think Ed Brown added for comic effect, I think in his piece we have "just do it." And what I find really interesting is Ed Brown is describing the same activity, the same ceremony, but he has reframed it. He's speaking from a different perspective, not from a perspective of preference, but from the gift of the limitless depth of ceremony and practice. It's interesting that when we come to practice, the emphasis is not really on beliefs. We're invited to do something, either within the ceremony of zazen, such as walking, or to support the ceremony in the zendo through taking on a role, or to extending it outside the zendo through tasks such as cooking or cleaning. And Flint emphasized in a recent inquiry talk that much of our practice is actually taking care. It matches our practice of zazen, which extends into our practice of taking care. And one of my questions around how do we see into the depths of our lives is, how do we extend our practice of taking care to our own lives outside the zendo? It's difficult, isn't it, to describe to somebody the experience of being in an online or in-person Zendo. And I've shared this with UK people, but I'll share this with you now, that when we have a retreat here in Lancaster, I have to consult the City Council about whether I need to pay an insurance premium for our activity. So when I phone them up, they say, well, what do you do? And I say, well, we sit in chairs or on the floor for quite long periods of time, and then we walk around the room, and then we come back to our seats, and we listen to talks which are related to sitting and walking around the room. And he said, I don't think you need to pay an insurance premium for that. There is no risk in this activity. Actually, there is a risk in this activity, because if we engage wholeheartedly in practice and in the roles that we are asked to inhabit, to perform, there's a risk that we might actually see into the depths of our own lives. And there's a possibility that we can begin to reframe how our relationship with our life outside the Zendo. And I've been thinking about this reframing thing and how I talk to myself about what I do. And if I take Ed Brown's example and apply it to some of the things I find more difficult and reframe it in just kind of outlining, okay, what am I doing, without the emotional flavor that I put into it, it completely changes my relationship with the activity. And I would guess that the practice of Zazen and the practice of taking care allows us to actually reframe our lives in this present moment. I had an opportunity to do this just recently. Trudy has been leading Hakomi weekends and longer periods of Hakomi in Lancaster for 12 years. She's led 65 weekends with other colleagues. And we had our last one 2 weeks ago. And I was reflecting on what I had been doing during those 12 years, during those 65 weekends. And conventionally, I could say I've responded to inquiries, I've taken bookings, I've bought refreshments, I've greeted participants, and I've assisted in the sessions. But when I reframed it, I realized that as soon as somebody contacts me about the possibility of coming to Hakomi or is interested in it, I begin to develop a relationship with them straight away, a relationship of welcoming and informing and supporting them to come to the practice if that's what they want to do. And then that moves forward to really what I offer during the beginning of the weekend, which is I usually go to the door and I welcome people as they arrive. Sometimes I don't know who they are. I've met them online. And I've had the deep practice of saying to people, you're welcome here, and to support them to be nourished by the practice. And I've been able to take care of the environment and the practice throughout those weekends. And on the penultimate weekend, the University of the Third Age had an event quite close to ours, and the University of the Third Age is about learning in later life. And they had an exhibition of Japanese art. So I went down to welcome our people, and they were welcoming their people. And then they welcomed me, and they said, you could come to our meetings if you like. And there felt like there was a festival of welcoming to almost to end our time of offering Hakomi. And it was very beautiful. There's an entryway I've recently had to really seeing into the depths of this life is when Flint taught us the way of arranging the pantoum poems, which is a particular kind of formula to allow you to write poetry. And I don't write poetry, but this particular exercise was a very beautiful way into it, because the first question was, what do you do regularly in your life? And the first line is what you do regularly, that's integral to your life. And my first line was, I wonder about things. So I'm going to read you my pantoum poem, because it was an entryway into this practice, to encourage you to have your own entryways. So this is my poem, Just Wondering About Things. And then some of the lines are repeated because there's a formula. Just wondering about things. Looking through a window, I see a woman passing by. During a winter's dawn, children's cries from the schoolyard. Parents hold children's hands on the way to school. Looking through a window, I see a woman passing by. Tenderness. Parents hold children's hands on the way to school. The whole play is always thus. Tenderness. A sycamore sheds its last leaf. The whole play is always thus. Everything meets my eyes. A sycamore sheds its last leaf. During a winter's dawn, children's cries from the schoolyard. Everything meets my eyes. Just wondering about things. And just to complete my piece today, I'll repeat what Ed Brown said once you have made your offering to the Buddha. He said, so what you do is you make your effort and you offer it. This is my offering, and then you leave. And I would say, and then you start again. Our life is limitlessly deep. Thank you very much. And if some of those questions have made you curious and you'd like to meet me to explore them, I would love that. So thank you very much. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Josh. Good to
Hi.
see you. I what struck me, or what, the words that landed that then started doing the repeating thing in my head, was limitless depth. And I just fell into that with not the idea of going deeper, but the idea of expansiveness of, I've been working here lately on I guess my compassion and being more tender, or allowing myself to be as, the depth of tenderness that is me, that I, can try and hide, unsuccessfully. So I guess my question is around attuning to that aspiration.
Okay, so from when I've seen you just in previous weeks and this morning, I kind of feel you're tenderizing yourself, which is seems to me the the entryway really. And you talked about falling into it, and I think it's the reverse of fear of falling. We often have, on the ice or something. You make yourself available to fall into this experience, because I had that feeling it takes you. It doesn't. You don't. You make yourself available to the beauty and the terror and the wonder. Um, Something around that, I think.
Yeah, that brings tears to my eyes. That felt very much in accord with what I'm doing, and giving language to it, which I think is rare or almost impossible. So
I mean, when you take a photograph, do you see into the depth of life? Do you get that sense of? Do you ask yourself a question? What am I? What is there here?
I do, and I often ask the question after the photo was taken. It's you take the photo, and then in the digital age we can immediately look at it, and then that's when I ask that question of what am I intuiting with and what is being reflected, and then take another shot that holds that intention.
Because there's something you're doing to create such beauty. So maybe you're kind of not aware
Yeah.
sometimes that you're doing it, but you are. It's a great. That's the entryway too. What are you doing? What do you love doing?
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Cassidy. Hi, Sue.
Hi, Josh. Thank you. This was a very touching talk for me. I was struck by your term. I think you used the term kind of restructuring, reframing things. And I was just reminded we had house guests for about 4 days, 5 days, and I got tired.
Yeah.
I got tired. And, then I would sort of think, well, can't they see I'm tired? Can't they help me? Can't they do this? Can't they do that? And I got into this funny thing that I haven't been in for a long time. And then my immediate reaction is, oh, you'd better change. You better change. But the idea of change and the idea of reframing, they're not change. You better change yourself comes with, but reframing. I mean, wow.
Yeah. It sounds like there's some possibilities for you in a change of perspective or reframing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so, it's open. And I guess it could be like Cassie was talking about, kind of limitless,
Yeah.
depth or width or whatever. I mean, it's limitless.
It really is limitless. And I think one thing, I have to watch out for is not to make it a project, that.
Yes.
Another thing I can say.
Because then it's work. Then you can't fall into something if you're working like that.
Sometimes,
At least I can't.
Sometimes it's just funny, when Ed Brown was talking about it. At least there's some humor in it, even if what you're describing is still quite painful. It's still not what you don't really want people to stay that long. But it kind of helps some kind of equanimity or perspective to have that, I think.
Yeah, and maybe you just have to ask. Or, I mean, there are just so many things that that one can do instead of just expecting others to notice. Or, I mean, I've been just fascinated thinking about it since. And then you talked about the reframing, and I thought, oh, well, that's a wonderful way to keep thinking about it. So I thank you for that.
There's some even more inquiry for you to carry forward.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Hi, Bridget.
I think we've conversed one-to-one before, but I really appreciate your talk, and especially the idea of reframing. And I want to repeat what you said. Much of our practice of taking care of how do we extend that to taking care of ourselves outside the Zendo.
Yeah.
And you may or may not have been on these calls when I've remarked that my younger son, who's 35, is estranged from me now. He's not chosen to want to talk to me. And but as a mother, I don't want to not have any contact. So I've sent some text about once a month or every 6 weeks. But with the holiday approaching, I find myself getting caught up in reflecting on what should I say this year. And you've given me an idea of reframing it so that if I just offer one statement, I've been doing some journaling about him and his growth over the years. And I sort of made 2 columns, things that were awesome and things that were challenging over his growth and getting him to maturity. But I would wonder if you have any ideas how I make sure that I'm not just trying to I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. In other words, the idea of make your effort, then, make your effort. This is my offering, and then let it go. Because I don't expect any responses. I haven't heard any responses to the other. And yet I don't stop because I'm not going to divorce my son.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, making your effort is heartbreaking,
Mm-hmm.
but you can still offer it, and feel what's in your heart. It's more like something around, and Flint's talked about practice as a change of perspective, but to do it with real kindness, real self-kindness, so that it doesn't become a project, and that it's wholesome and helpful. But sometimes offering something is heartbreaking, and maybe it's the care of our hearts and being with people who can support us important as well. It's as simple and not as simple as saying this is my offering and turning away, because it always usually comes with something, but you're offering it to something vast.
I'm going to keep that perspective of something vast, because it makes me feel more calm just talking to you about it. This is this really is helpful, and I want to give you a deep bow of gratitude.
Great to meet you. Thank you, and I wish you well in your in going forward with it.
All right, thank you.
Bye. Hi, Jill.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you.
Nice to see you too. That was a lovely talk. I feel very moved, and I've not been at the Sangha for a couple of weeks, so I feel very steadied and grounded by seeing you and just hearing your words. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Makes such a difference. Practicing online in person with people, it's such a good reminder for me. I was thinking about, well, I wanted to tell you a wee story and then ask you a question about it. So I was down with my parents after a lovely but very busy weekend, so was feeling quite depleted in energy, and had, you know, given my offering and got my dad to bed and got my mum and taken myself off to bed early so that I could be, you know, resourced for the next day. And my lovely elderly dogs, increasingly incontinent, and so is taken to nighttime waking and yowling. And so this was happening, and I just was like, oh, no, really, this can't be happening. And but it was such an interesting. So I was also concerned she was going to wake my parents, and so it was all like, ah, oh, really, this is not what I need right now. And so I was going down to see Millie, my dog, and was being quite stern and just like, right, you've got to be quiet, and this has got to stop. And so I think on literally about my 10th time down, funnily enough, she wasn't doing what I just thought, actually, she's really disturbed and she's frightened. And so I just lay down with her and gave her a cuddle, and she just settled immediately, and so did I.
When you said so, you know, your shoulders relaxed, like, so I just lay down with her, like there was something, you fell into something, like,
Well, I
okay.
sort of, yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah. And I feel really moved, or because obviously we all just have a finite resource, and I think my question is, what do I do with my panic of when I don't think I'm going to be enough to give the offering, or because that panic then really takes me away from just the wonder of the moment. And it feels like it's, you know, yeah.
You feel like you shouldn't be panicking when you're facing all of this? Do you feel like it?
Well, it's not very helpful. Or even panic is okay, but it's that low level anxiety of, oh, I'm not going to cope, or this is all too much. And as I see it, it's a lot. So
what you're describing is really hard. It's really hard on many levels, and it feels like you know, the things that come up, the panic, maybe the opinion about the panic. You know, it's like, how can you be kind with yourself?
Yeah.
You're facing a lot. It's how can you just keep being kind to yourself in the way that what would you say to a friend? What would you say?
Just pretty much what you're saying to me.
Yeah. And knowing that you're doing your best, lots come up, you know, with families, and you're really describing, you know, the in some ways, you know, the most challenging aspect of how do you fall into the depths of this life.
Yeah.
And this is what you're meeting right now. This is the big challenge, and I really want to kind of reach out and say, you know, I see that. I see the pain, and in this moment, I hope you can feel, you know, the support, because it's
Totally. I absolutely can.
yeah, and just keep coming back to friends and loved ones, and
Yeah.
and you know, whatever you know said in a Dharma talk is, they're just possibilities. Just hold them lightly.
Yeah.
Don't make them a project, and love yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thanks, Josh.
See you, Jill. Hello, Ra.
Hey, Josh.
Oh,
I'm in semi-dark. Can you see me?
I can. You're very visible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Delight to hear you. And particularly when you were talking about your welcoming role, and be reminded of you really welcomed me when I made my inquiry about Hakomi, and when I turned up all fresh and unknowing on the residential, and the welcome was so full that I really wondered what I'd stumbled across.
That really touches me. Thank you for seeing that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's lovely to be reminded.
You know, I think the wonder is we'd corresponded, and I had a sort of sense of you from your messages, and then you know, there's the wonder of, oh, this is Ra. You know, here she is. Wonder of appearance. And that's quite an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, as you say that now, it was, you know, I have this sort of sense of something really expanded in that moment when I met you, because there was a presence. Yeah,
it's very precious, and you know, we have that one moment of opportunity to connect and meet and see.
Yeah. But I want to, I don't know how on earth I'm going to frame this, but I have a real practice dilemma going on. You know, I won't talk about the details, but I'm going to see some family this week. And I have been awake in the night feeling so angry and so sore. And if I was just thinking of me, I wouldn't go. And that would be a kind of progress for me. But actually, I want to take care of more than that. And I'm prioritizing a few people I want to take care of. But somehow I have to go. I'm just with, like, how do I really take care? How do I bow to all of this to kind of somehow contain all the anger, the hurt? Sometimes I'm in contact with much more depth, much more sense of the suffering involved for all of us.
So what comes to mind? I wonder if you could actually embody it physically before you go. Your altar, and you take it there, and you perhaps find some space to continue to bow internally or externally if that's possible. So you take an embodied practice to take care of you.
I'm smiling because that's exactly what I was picturing as you were talking.
Yeah.
As you were talking earlier, it's like that, because bowing, it does something for me. And yeah. And I also had that feeling when you said, that's what you were thinking, is actually you kind of know how to do this. You have the resources to do it. It's just very, very painful. You'd already thought, well, there's something in the possibility of kind of embodying it. Yeah.
Saying, this is my offering, and turning away. And as I said, previously, it doesn't mean it's not heartbreaking.
Yeah, that touched me when you said that to Bridget.
Yeah. Offer it to the vastness of being.
Yeah. Yeah. And way beyond our family.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I felt, as you spoke earlier, I felt the responsibility, but not in a burdened way.
Yeah.
It's like I have a practice. Yeah, bow.
Yeah. Thank you,
and
Rob.
let it go.
Let it go. Or not. It'll do what it'll do.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me it's always like, and see what happens.
Yeah.
With no expectation. Who knows what'll happen when you bow? You turn and walk away, but you don't know what it seems to me, what the consequence will be. But your intention, what is your intention? I think that's important. To offer it to the vast space.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Rob. Go well.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hi, thank you so much. Good to see you. Somehow your talks always hit a vulnerable chord.
Oh, okay.
And so when you were talking about welcoming people, so everybody knows, I guess, that I'm AV monitor in Appamata. I let people into the Zoom meetings and arrange for the practice discussion and all of that. And so
something touches you about the welcoming? Yeah.
I never see it that way.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of this crying, it's funny. I wonder about it because it's just a wondering, as you said. Okay, Josh understood what he was doing there. I don't really ask myself, what, I bow whenever I admit somebody into the room, and there is a respect with that bow. Yeah, I could use.
So what I'm sensing is your heart's opened to something deeper than you're describing your role.
Deeper than clicking admit.
Absolutely. It's always deeper than that. So there's some real opportunity there to inquire and take the inquiry into that role. It's like you've given me a conventional description of what you do.
I think that's how I approach things a lot. It's a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. So here's the opportunity. Here's the opportunity to fall into something, to really let yourself see what you can do and how you can be. And I'm really touched because it's like if something we've shared has touched you, then there's a potential for some real deep inquiry. Inquiry should go on way after inquiry, you know?
Yeah, and when you answered the question about um what do you do or something, you said I wonder about things.
Hmm.
I thought, wow, how do you do that? How do you give, it seems, and I'm probably busy myself too much to have the or even to just think about wondering,
But
you know.
you're kind of wondering now, aren't you? You're wondering what you do.
You know,
There's the entryway.
and I'm wondering with you, and that helps.
Yeah, yeah, we can wonder together. It's something you can share wondering. But in
Yeah.
that what seems a very precise and clearly described way that, the job is, you can go deeper, and deeper.
Yeah.
You've seen through it.
Yeah, I feel like you're describing how you are has given me permission.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm feeling, the wonder kind of flowing between us now. So I have a wonder buddy.
Thank you. That will help me a lot. I don't know how it'll feel to you, but it will help me a lot.
Wonder buddies. Yeah,
Thank you.
share the wonder.
Thank you so much.
So I think we're coming to the end of our time together today. It's been really wonderful to be with you again. And we'll now go to the closing verses, please, if you'd like to say them with me. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Self-centered dream, only suffering. Holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Thank you.